never gave up. And I think for that reason, I have a lot of optimism about the season in general, but we've got to get better fast. We've got an excellent team coming here this week, well documented. I think they've got 2 years in a row of being one of the top teams in the country, deep playoff advancement, one of the most dynamic offenses at all levels of college football. They've got people that are studying the way that they do things offensively, including our own offensive coaches. There's a high level of respect around the country right now for Incarnate Word. They had a loss at UTEP. Looked like UTEP is a very solid football team, and that loss to UTEP really doesn't in any way tarnish my opinion of the team that we've got coming in here. A really tall order for us, an excellent challenge, and really exactly what we would want after such a disappointing start.
How do you fix, you mentioned starting out, Ed, how do you change that to get a better result in the early going?
Sure. Yeah.
What do you do?
I thought we played tight. I really think a head coach has to be authentic to his own personality, and the team somewhat becomes a reflection of that, in addition to a reflection of the leadership on the team and the rest of the coaching staff. Everybody has a piece, but the head coach has a big piece, and my my leadership style is that when we can allow players to make their own decisions, we run a pretty player-oriented program in terms of how we operate in the team meals and how we operate in team meetings and things like that. Everybody has a say. Everybody has input. We've got a leadership council and a captain's group that I've got a lot of faith in, a lot of confidence in. But part of that culture that I'm trying to build is also that when the game hits, we are the most disciplined team on the field. We're the toughest team on the field, and that takes a flip of a switch that I didn't think we were ready for or understood. I felt like that our pregame warm-up was lacked effort. I thought it was too relaxed. That caused that my reaction to that was to tighten up myself, and I think our players felt that, experienced that, and I didn't fill them with the type of confidence that we were ready to go in that game. And I don't say any of this to take away from Abilene Christian. That was a really solid football team. Time will tell, whether they're a top team in the country, but if we were allowed to bet in college athletics, or I was the betting type of guy, I would bet that they're going to be a very good team in their conference and around the country.
On the field, once the game began, what did you take out of the Abilene Christian game for your guys? Game one, we talked about the build up to game one, more than a half a year. What did you take out of the actual product?
Sure. We've got to get bigger and stronger and to play with better fundamental technique at the line of scrimmage first. I thought we got beat at the line of scrimmage. We will continue to train hard throughout the season. We'll continue to chase our body weights where we need to grow, and continue to get bigger, so that we can face a physical style of football team like that. That said, that's not necessarily the challenge every week. Abilene Christian runs a different style of offense and defense than Incarnate Word, and then our third opponent will be different than that. And so we've got to make sure that we focus on what we can get better, but also the task of the week, so to speak. And so we're not looking back too much on that. But the execution piece, where we didn't execute, that's something that we have to work hard as coaches to make sure that we don't have too much game plan, that we're practicing the things that we're going to be doing in the games, so that our players have the best chance to execute and be successful when the plays are called.
I understand you don't want to look back. I get that. Let me just ask one.
No, I'm happy to look back for this conversation. I just talking through my thoughts.
I understand.
On
I understand.
What we're working on.
I mean, I watched the game on the ESPN stream thing. What was going on those lines? Were they just bigger, stronger, just pushing you guys around? I mean, both defensive and offensive end.
Yeah, there were some certainly some times when we were pushing them around, and we have an example of every one of our players holding up at the point of attack or blocking well at the point of attack. It wasn't happening as often. They were blocking us more often. They were getting off of our blocks more often. Their running backs were dynamic. We had some misalignment issues at our second level at the linebacker position on defense, and so we weren't able to fill some holes when maybe the defensive line was doing their part, and we weren't able to fit in on the gaps as well as we wanted to. So with some of that has got to be put really on the coaches and on our practice habits and the way that we're evaluating who's on the field and the way that we practice.
Let's move ahead now to Incarnate Word. Just in crunching numbers, obviously, I'm not looking at film like you guys are or whatever, but I'm wondering if a big key to the game will be stopping their run and establishing a run of your own.
Absolutely, yeah, well said. We've got to. Incarnate Word is, anytime I think when just people in general think of a team that puts up 40, 50, 60 points in games like they regularly do, they think that they're throwing the ball all over, and they've got an FBS quarterback that transfer they performed well at the FBS level. It's not as if he's looking for a second opportunity because his first opportunity wasn't a good one. They have all the ability to throw the ball, but we've got to stop the run, and we've got to make sure that we're stout in that area, and we've got to do a better job offensively of running the ball so that it can open up the passing game.
Yeah. I just wondered about I was asking Dennis a little bit about UTEP. They had 63 yards against UTEP total, and then UTEP just blew them out of the water, at least on paper.
Yeah.
With UTEP's run.
Yes.
Against UIW. So I was just wondering if that's an area that you'd be interested to see how that plays out on Saturday.
Yeah, more than interested. It's the as you said, it's a key to the game. It's the key to the game. We can't get physically manhandled at the point of attack and be outrushed by a ratio of 2 or 3 to 1 and expect to win any games.
Yeah, gotcha. UTEP, this was a close, again, just on paper, UTEP and UIW looked to be a close game. They put together a couple of time-consuming touchdown drives, one in the third quarter, one in the fourth quarter, I think, essentially to win it. You guys had 2 long drives on your scoring drives against Abilene Christian. 7 minutes and 44 seconds, 7:33. Can you do that this week? And how?
Yeah, yes, we can do that, and I think that the how is exactly how it transpired in that game. It's got to be just a greater efficiency. When we were able to put those drives together, we had more efficiency. We were able to connect on some of our short and intermediate passes. We were able to get the run game going, and that was creating more third and shorts when we got into third down. When we were struggling in that game, which was most of the game offensively, we were in more third and long situations, and the third and shorts that we did get into, we weren't able to execute. Had a couple of drops at some point during the series, and just put us behind the chains.
Let me ask this maybe a little bit again. What was going right on those 2 drives, Ed? What was different about those 2 drives? That I think one led to the field goal and then one led to the touchdown.
Yeah.
What was different?
Yeah, rush. At the risk of repeating
I'm sorry.
same thing. Yeah, the rush efficiency was better for us. We were able to complement the run game with the pass game.
Okay.
I think on both drives as well, we had at least one explosive play. Over 10 yards, and so sometimes those chunks can get us out to midfield where we feel like we can take more risk, and yet it all started with the efficiency to get into good field position.
I just needed to hear that again. I appreciate it.
Sure.
Did you come out of last week pretty okay in terms of injuries?
Mhm.
Healthy?
Yep. Yes.
Good,
Yeah, we
good.
expect everybody that played to continue to play.
Good, good, that's key, that's key, okay. And then any significant, lineup changes? Do anything different with starters? I can compare the depth charts, I guess, but just thought any tweaks like that, or I don't know how you say that, or maybe you don't say that, and I'm wading in waters here.
Yeah. No,
Just
I'm happy
go
to
right
address
in.
that. I think the depth charts that we put out don't have any significant changes. We have, particularly at our receiver position, D-line position, there's quite a bit of rotating at those positions, and so it wouldn't surprise me if the coaches had, maybe made a change in terms of who's the 1 and who's the 2, but really those spots are we consider them 1A and 1B.
Yeah, obviously a disappointing night on Thursday. It's I mentioned last week. They're going into it. Hey, it's a bunch of unknowns, right? We're going to learn about ourselves and learn about our team, and so there's a lot to clean up and a lot to learn. And like they always say, biggest jump in college football and football in general, right, is from week 1 to week 2. And so we're looking forward to making that jump. And it's like I told the guys, hey, this is a process. It's a one day at a time process. We're building this thing and setting the foundation, and so just taking it one day at a time. Obviously disappointing, but we've got a few positives we can build on, and we're going to build on those, and we're going to keep doing what we do and keep getting better at what we work at every day.
Let's go from that then. What can what did you see that from last week that maybe you think you can, hey, we can keep doing that and we can do that well, for game 2?
Yeah, I think there's
What are maybe some things between the lines there?
Yeah, we need to protect the passer better, and there were some opportunities there, and so we cleaned those things up in the passing game, and I think there's some opportunities. I thought the run game performed really well. We had 2 really long drives, a 15-play drive and a 16-play drive, and so obviously with the new rules in college football, the game goes by a whole lot faster than anyone anticipated, and so. Yeah, we had 2 long drives, and the thing is, to string 2 long drives together is really hard because there's so much opportunity for a negative play or a penalty or something to derail the drive. And so to do that, it showed a lot of discipline, it showed a lot of focus, it showed a lot of attention to detail. In the second half, I think once they initially got up 21-0, from that point on, I guess it was the very beginning of the second quarter, it was 11-10. I mean, it's a pretty even ball game. And so I think the other thing is, I think our kids learned about themselves. It was the first game for a lot of kids. We're a young ball club, and so there's a lot of kids that made their first appearance or hadn't played in a while, and so we learned a lot about our players, but I think they learned a lot about themselves. And so once they kind of settled in, it was like, oh, okay, we got this. And so we're going to build upon that. So I think that's the biggest thing going forward is, what can we build on? Experience. They actually got a real game experience. And so they can kind of settle in. They got their feet wet now.
What went into those 2 long drives? Against Abilene. Sorry, I'll bring that forward to Incarnate in a second. But what went into those drives? What was clicking? What was
we finally got into a rhythm.
Did you?
Right? It's hard to get into a rhythm when you go 3 and out. And the first play of the game, we've got exactly what we want. We're going to throw a first down. Then the defensive line makes a nice play, tips the ball.
Yeah.
If you don't tip it, hey, that's probably a gain of 10 or 12.
Yeah.
Right? And we start going. And so we got into a rhythm. We got positive plays early in the drive. We got into a rhythm, and we were able to get into our fastball, some of our tempo stuff, and so that's when our kids tend to play really well, is when we get into a rhythm. And so that's the whole key of it. And the other thing is, I think guys were really locked in and focused and disciplined, right? You didn't have penalties. You didn't have self-inflicted wounds, which earlier in some of the other drives you did, which is kind of the name of the game, right? Don't hurt yourself, and you'll generally be okay.
Yeah, good point. UTEP against UIW last week, they put together a couple of time-consuming drives.
Yeah.
And as we just talked about, you guys did that as well.
Mm-hmm.
You feel like the offense is in a better spot to maybe do that again this week?
Yeah, I think you're in a better spot to do that anytime you're better at what you do, right?
Okay.
And so UTEP did a really nice job, and they're built to run. I know Dana Dimmel, the head coach over there, really well, and that's how he builds his football team. And so I think we're built a little bit differently, but I think we have the same ability to do those type of things. Obviously, UTEP is in the FBS, and so that was a great challenge for Incarnate Word. I thought they hung in there and played really, really tough. And so you never want to sit there and watch the tape and say, man, well, look, UTEP did this and they didn't do that. And it's like, yeah, you got to understand who they're playing and what the circumstances are as well. They're a really good defense. They're a really good team. Obviously, that's proven by what they did last year. Incarnate Word was really, really good, and we got a really extremely tough challenge coming to town. So I'm excited because I think our kids, now that they've got their feet wet from last week and know what to expect, and we're now into game mode, in season mode in the routine. Really excited to see our kids respond and go out there and perform.
Oh, sorry, you stopped talking quicker than I thought you were going to. I'm sorry. I said this to Ed, just in looking at numbers. I'm wondering if a big key to this game will be stopping their run and establishing a run of your own. Because it looked like, again, numbers on paper,
Sure.
only part of the story. It looked like Incarnate Word was really not able to run on UTEP, and UTEP ran all over them.
Yeah.
I just wonder if that's.
Well, I think every game presents its own set of circumstances, right? And how the game goes early on can dictate how the flow of the game is later on, and kind of where you need to go with your play calling and whatnot. And so, I think running the ball is going to be key in any game. I think it'll help balance us out on our offense. But I think it depends on their style of offense, right? I know they're up tempo and they want to run it, but they want to throw it. And so, and every game's different when you go ahead and game plan it based off of personnel and scheme and what the other team does. So. I think every game has its own identity, so we'll see how that plays out this week.
I neglected to ask this of Ed. I'll throw it to you. Opening at home.
Yeah.
Is a little different than opening on your first home game rather.
Sure.
Little different than being on the road. How do you perceive that as a coach?
I like it because I feel like I got more time to prep instead of jumping on a plane.
That's
right.
Yeah, exactly.
And getting to a hotel and
Right.
having all those things. I think it'll be fun for our kids. I think it'll be fun for our kids to open up at home in front of their family and friends. And obviously, one of the things you always talk about is protect home, right? And so we have the duty to protect our home, and so you got to take pride in that. And so it's fun. We got a great team coming to town, like I said earlier, and got to be up for the challenge, but now you get to do it at home. It means a little bit more.
Last question, I guess then, would be, as a defense with Incarnate coming in, what do you kind of look at with those guys? I mean, what will you be watching for? As much as you can maybe answer that question.
Yeah.
I know that's loaded, but
they're a really good defense. They're really good at what they do. They're gonna do what they do. They're gonna execute, and I think they play really hard. I think they're really athletic. I think they have a really athletic group.
one of those receivers,
Yeah.
like he could be.
So,
He had a pretty good game, almost 100 yards or something.
yeah, and
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'll leave that up to
I'm
Preston,
sorry.
Coach Hadley. But
Yeah, no,
on the
I'm sorry.
defensive end, they do a good job. I think they have a really good secondary, and
Sorry about that.
and the defensive line's really athletic. The backers make a bunch of tackles, and so just honestly, I'm more focused on us and our execution. I think that's the name of the game. Sometimes we worry so much about the other team and
Is
the
that
opponent,
right?
what they do. It's like, hey man, just worry about yourself and take care of your business. If we would have. If we would have executed better on Thursday night versus Abilene Christian, we would have had a better performance. And there's a lot of things you point out, and I talk to the kids about this all the time. It's not necessarily about what they do, it's about what we do. And so if we would have done our job, then we would have had a lot different result or production offensively, right?
Sure.
And so for this week, I think the name of the game, the theme is let's take care of ourselves. Let's worry about ourselves. Let's go out there and execute and do what we do and do it a lot better than we did on last Thursday.
Yeah, obviously the wasn't the result that we wanted, but like I said, our emphasis isn't really being results oriented or focused on outcomes. We just continue to focus on on us, right? Our execution, our effort, our attitude, That's what our focus is. We didn't do a good enough job in stopping the run. I thought guys were assignment sound, just missed too many tackles. There was multiple instances where we had we had a guy there and we just didn't make the play. So we just got to continue to just focus on our skills and our fundamentals and just keep getting better. But was proud of the way they finished. I think our guys competed to the end. I was encouraged by the red zone defense. We had a fourth down stop in the low red zone, which was huge for us. Those are turnovers, right? Forced a field goal in the red zone as well, what we call a 4-point play. But we got to get better, and we got to get better on third downs as well. I think they were 54% on their third downs, and there was a few third and long situations actually where we just got to find a way. We got to find a way, so we got to do better there. But was really encouraged, and there's a lot to build off of. Obviously, a lot of things to improve, but there was some good there as well. A lot of guys who haven't played before are playing, and so our job is to coach them up and have them more ready for this next week.
Just in kind of crunching some numbers, Preston, I was wondering if maybe a big key to this game would be stopping Incarnate Word's run and establishing a run, the offense, of your own. What do you think about stopping their run? How do you, do you think is that a significant thing for you? Is that a legitimate observation?
Yeah, I think they're well balanced.
Do you?
Yeah, they're well balanced. I think they want to throw the ball more, but they run the ball effectively. They have good backs. Both the backs they use, one of them is a really powerful and physical runner, and the other is another guy that you better bring your feet because he'll be able to make you miss. Mm-hmm. And the quarterback, really good player. He's been at multiple P5 schools, and I think he's got an NFL arm, and I think he poses a problem. He's got a lot of arm strength, and he'll stretch the field, and he's accurate down the field as well. So, and he's also he's a good athlete. So I think the quarterback's always a run threat. If you look at the scheme from last year, the quarterback that they had, he did a really nice job and was really hard to defend because of his ability to extend plays and just pull it and make guys miss when it was a pull read, when they were running some of their read zone type of plays. But yeah, we just got to focus on just being assignment sound and execution. But they do a good job running the ball. It's a good scheme, really good scheme. That's really hard to defend. I mean, you look at what they've been able to do. They put up over 60 points against an undefeated Sac State team in the playoffs, right? I don't know what they were averaging last year per points per game, but just if I had to take a guess, I think they were probably averaging over 40 points a game, which is pretty incredible for an offense to be able to do that. It doesn't matter at any level. That's really good football, and we got to be prepared to defend a lot of plays as well. I think there was a game they ran 108 plays against, I think it was Furman, but we've got to be prepared to defend at least 100 or more plays with the tempo that they go at. So they're really good, they're really efficient, and they execute at a high level, especially for how fast their tempo is. It's a really, really good offense, really good scheme.
A quarterback who can run and can throw, I mean, that's just a killer for a defense, right? I mean, that's just bringing something that is just, is that bringing something that's just a real challenge for a defense?
Yeah, I think when a quarterback can be multidimensional.
And that's what this guy can do?
I think he's capable of doing that, yeah. I think he, but he has the arm, he can make all the throws as well. And so we've got to be ready to defend both. And usually when a quarterback is a heavy run threat, you usually will have to commit a defender to him, whether it's through a spy player or just having a guy ready to trigger. You've got to be ready, and in the run game as well for some of the design quarterback run game. So we'll see, if the philosophy is the same with this new quarterback, but he is definitely capable of running the offense how they ran it a year ago.
And then the other guy who jumped out at me on their offensive side is a receiver.
Yeah, number 18.
Number 18.
Yeah, he's dynamic.
Porter.
Yeah, he's a dynamic player.
You worried about him?
Oh yeah, he's a guy like that. You better know where he's at.
Okay.
And I mean, he's a transfer from NAU. He was
Yes.
He was All-American, All-Conference.
Oh, okay.
He was a high school quarterback, and so you could tell the way he plays the game, and he does a nice job of converting his routes down the field based on the coverage that he's getting, and he's got the football IQ that you would expect a high school quarterback to have. And he's a really good player, and he also gets after. He's competitive, and he's got some stuff to him, and he's a really good player for him. And he's got some speed where he can take the top off, and so yeah, he's definitely a guy that we got to know where he's at. And they've also number 21. He's a transfer in from Oregon, and big player, big guy. He's listed at 6'5", and he looks on film. He looks
Chapman.
every bit of
Yep.
6'5", and
Yep.
he has great body control and does a really nice job catching the ball away from his body, and he'll go up and high point a ball. So we've got to be ready to compete. He's a competitive player as well. So like I said, they have multiple weapons on offense that makes them really hard to defend. In addition to the scheme that they're running and the tempo. So it's yeah, you've seen the issues that they pose on an opposing offense just from watching on film, on an opposing defense just from watching film on them. So, and they're well coached. This is a proven system. The head coach, the offensive coordinator, they have a lot of experience in it, and I think they call the game similar to what they did last year. So, yeah, we got to work it out for us.
I think I'm good. Okay, Preston.
Cool.
Thank you, Preston.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys.